I realized as I took each association, a cup of coffee, the woman in pink, my friend. So when you have a dream and you start associating qualities with each of those aspects, it's starting to talk to you. The dream is starting to dialogue. And what does this woman mean to me? This woman is a very powerful woman in actuality. Here she was lolling on the bed and ha 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 and moving and laughing. But she was a very powerful woman. David says she can run the country. She was that powerful. You know, give her anything. She set up a housing development in Delhi. She's done a whole lot of things. What does the pink mean? What do you think the pink would mean? Gay, no. She's a woman, so she's wearing pink. How appropriate is that? What is the pink?
Married person.
A what?
A happy person.
Happy. But pink, specifically pink?
Color associated with the person.
Yeah, no, with the person. But what would be?
Femininity in a way.
Femininity, yes. So woman who's very feminine, yet very powerful. And guess what? I'm giving her a cup of coffee and saying, yeah, who's it?
Queen Elizabeth.
No, I'm giving her a cup of coffee, not Queen Elizabeth, cup of coffee. What do you do when you have a cup of coffee? How do you feel?
Stimulated. Stimulated.
You perk up.
Perk up, you wake up. So that was what the dream, when I analyzed it a little further, it meant, here am I, I'm in Goa, I feel a little helpless, I don't know too much, I'm not too oriented with various things. Things are new to me. And here I am, I'm saying, hey, X, wake up, smell the coffee, okay? And start being powerful. Start using those abilities that are just lying somnolent in you at the moment. And so that, for me, was a strong message, which came in a very disguised little way, lady in a pink dress, my good old friend, familiar, and the man next to me who was also lying back. Now what could he mean? He was lying back, not really active. What could that mean? Have you heard of the animus? Anybody? Haven't heard that word? So the animus is the male part of us, the woman. The woman part, the male part is the animus in us. In a man, it would be the anima, as Jung calls it, the anima. So in each of us, we have a male in the female part and a female in the male part. And that, so he was lying over there and doing nothing. And for me, the animus is risk-taking, venturous, courageous, going out there and doing things, being dynamic, and the animus was just lying back. So that dream meant that I needed to also look at that inner male part of myself. It was just having a good old siesta. So that was a very interesting dream for me here in Goa, that I needed to do something about it. So when you have a dream, it's not just a dream when you say, okay, I go back to sleep. If you understand the language, then you understand I can do something about what is happening in my dream, and I can make that dream a reality. So the last part of what would be a stage of analyzing a dream would be transformation or action. And that's precisely what I would like. I think coming today here is a bit of action for me, because I've been introvertedly, Jung talks about a whole lot of words like introversion, extroversion, so on. I've been introvertedly lying in my house, figuring out, oh my God, what do I do now? What do I do now? So this very banal, ordinary dream for me was something that has roused me. And there are other dreams. There are dreams which are huge dreams. And Freud talks about dreams from below the belt. Jung talks about dreams from above the belt. So they are sublime, They show us transformation at a great level. They talk about development and absolutely fabulous things that one can do with one's life, rather than just remaining at the level of sexuality or childhood or wish fulfillment. So I'll talk about another dream that I had, which I feel has been a very, very large, important part of my life. There are several, but I'll talk about this particular one. This particular one, I was sleeping, as is my wont. I was sleeping in the afternoon, and in the dream appeared a nun in a wheelchair. And she was daubed with color. So the white had a whole lot of color on her. So I was wondering, a nun in a wheelchair with color. And I was dialoguing with this nun. So she said, I'm so miserable and I'm in such pain and I'm so upset. And I said, you can't be a victim. You've got to experience the pain and you've got to, do what you have. Whatever you have, you've got to do what you need to do with it. You can't, and I can see that you did something. Your habit is daubed with holy colors. So she agreed. So in this dream, I said, and I woke up. There's a telephone ringing. It was a nun on the other end of the line. And she's saying, I've got your phone number and I am interested in dream analysis and I want to give a talk to the novices of this novice formation course that I'm holding. I said, my God, this is too much. This is too much. And furthermore, it was Holy and Good Friday. That day, that was so significant for me. I realized when I got up, I said, my God, these two festivals have crossed. And the nun is holy. She's daubed in holy colors. And it is Good Friday. And what is the significance of this occasion? This occasion means that we are not victims, because on Good Friday, when Christ died on the cross, he gave himself up. He did not say, oh, I'm dragged to it. I'm helpless. You're going to crucify me. No. That day was significant because it was not a sacrifice in the sense of being victimized, but it was proactive. I offer myself. And Holi is also a very sacred festival. In Hindu tradition, it's a celebration. It's a celebration. And I think it comes from the word Holika, where there was this father who really objected to his son asking all sorts of questions about everything spiritual, and he was very upset. And Holika was, I think, a Rakshas, a demon, and I don't know why father would do this, but I'm looking at Rahul for confirmation just in case I'm getting this wrong, and he placed Prahlad on the lap of this Rakshas and said, now, burn the lot of them for asking these stupid questions. Young people, please beware. And Prahlad did not get burned. He did not get burned. It was a celebration of that one has integrity and one is whole, that you can go through anything and you cannot be burnt by the gauntlet of fire. So for me this is very significant. It says, do not be a victim. And then you have to look at the surrounding context. How does one look at one's life? What is one's life's myth or life story? Are you the type of person who says, I meet all the wrong men in my life, oh God. Or I do something and then at the end it falls through, so that's another life myth, another life story. Or do you have affirming life stories for yourself? And when you explore dreams and you start looking at what is underlying it, you can start picking out what choices you can make. It is not something which is just like you put on the TV set and you ignore the story, or you get a letter but you don't read it. So dream is something which is significant. It is not banal. It is not trivial. So for me that was a very, very important, it addressed my core, myself. It said in so many levels, cultural, social, archetypical. It said, look at the bigger picture. There's also synchronicity. There's another word which Jung talks about, synchronicity. And talks about how the outside world and your inner world can merge. And it can become magical. And so we can look at life as very mundane, or we can see signs, symbols, significance in our lives. So in Anand Mindell says, he talks about dream time. And there's dreaming and there is consensus reality. So consensus reality would be, we all agree that the world is round. Columbus, of course, poor chap, he had to go out at that time where he thought the world was flat and he was going to fall off the face of the earth, and he still went out. So consensus reality is all those things which say so much a measurement, blah blah blah, half inch, quarter millimeter, God knows what, I'm coming to meet at this time, and all the prosaic stuff of life. Then there is dream time, where when Anand Mindell visited Australia, he was talking to an Aborigine and he looked at that whole city of Canberra and he said, wow. He says, this was our original sacred place. And it's doing so well because that was where all our elders met and we all had, get-togethers and groups. And now I can still see that ancient old part, that dream part. And that city is successful because I see that behind the bustling city, it's still there. So there are sacred places in our country. There are hot spots here and there which one doesn't know, but you feel peaceful, you feel wonderful when you're in that place. And for me that particular dream was a call to myself. Jung talks about the self. All of us. We may be considered, oh, she's stupid, she's beautiful, somebody is handsome, somebody is a flake. Within all of us, there is the 2-million-year-old man. Another concept that Jung talks about, the collective unconscious. The collective unconscious is in every part of your culture, your heritage, your nuclear war, there are 2 people remaining on God's earth, to be reconstructed with what we have inherited from all the generations and civilizations that have come down. So for me, that wisdom, that self, this is all what we are moving towards. We are moving towards that core self which knows everything, which is peaceful, which is centered, which is quiet, which doesn't need to flash one's ego. Each one of us has it. So in that search, he says, the self is to be allied with the divine. He doesn't talk about just childhood traumas. As Freud kept on saying, everything was hinged to sexuality. Doesn't talk about that. It says we can reach the sublime. And that said, all of us need to do in our search for another word I'm going to use now, individuation. Individuation is when yourself has reached a balance and has reached and taken part in the divine. Through various explorations, experiences, anima, animus, all sorts of things. The man in you, the woman in you, the child in you, everything. But as you grow, you reach a certain balance. And that balance is uniting with the divine in you. So Christ or God or whatever you may choose to call it is within you. So when we talk, then I found there's a predilection in me when I found somebody handicapped, I found somebody lame, or I found somebody, somehow I got attracted to just going there and doing what I needed to do. And perhaps it came from that dream of the nun in the wheelchair. But I just went and I just had to help. So for me, I found that core through that dream. And it is a very, very powerful thing. And nuns, at that time it says that there's another dream which may be a little odd, but subsequent to that, since I have dreams like that, there was another dream where I was going to school. It was an opening, and there was a school opening, and I was like the chief guest, and I was taken to every classroom and shown this and shown that and what have you. I said yes, very nice, very solemn. And then I came to a room where there were nuns, and these nuns were they were dancing. And then what they did was they threw off their blouses. And I got quite a shock. I said, my God, they threw off their blouses. So fat, small, tall, short, thin, happily dancing away. And I said, and previous to that, my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law had said, nuns are terrible. My brother-in-law said, nuns are terrible. My sister-in-law said, nuns are lovely. And I said, tonight I may probably have a dream about nuns. And I did. And this was the dream I had. I thought, my God, nuns dancing in all their glory and throwing off their habits. What do you think that could have meant? What do you think that could have meant? Saved by the best. Can anybody suggest what it could have meant? Say. Thrown off their habits. Now what could be a bigger clue than that?
All bodies are beautiful.
That's one thing. What else?
Freedom from responsibility.
Freedom from responsibility, perhaps.
Habituation.
Okay.
No, that they are very human also.
Yes.
Why would they do it together?
What's that?
Why would they do it together?
Why would they do it together?
Yeah.
They didn't do it all together in unison, but they did it all in one or the other time frame, 1 nanosecond, less or more than that. But throwing off what I had expected. So in my dream, so the other thing that one has to look at is that all these characters are us. All parts of the dream are us. We are the nuns. We are the formal teachers who go visiting the classrooms. We are the chief guest. They are all aspects of ourselves. And there is nothing moral or immoral about what happens. In a dream, you can't sit and judge. You can't say, oh, wrong, nuns to take off their habits. Wrong for them to dance. So, when you have cast off your conditioning, and you have, the surprising part of a dream is it surprises you. You enjoy it, you love it. And the thing is that you also get a story and a message for your living. So if I were to follow that precept in a dream, I'd say, I'm supposed to be, this very formal, serious person. And then I realized that I've been conditioned by so many habits. I can't behave in this stereotypical fashion. This is how, so the persona. So there's the persona is, this is how I am to the world. And the ego says, this is how you should be. You should be like this, serious. You should be like keeping your cool. You should be very, very sida, sada. So the persona and the ego are having this little charcha, this little dialogue with each other, and saying, your dream makes you realize you need to cast off things. You don't need to be such a sida, sada soul. Don't behave like they expect. And so for me, that was my message. My message was, I do not need to have the conditioning of the world upon me. So I thought, brother-in-law was saying, nuns are good, well, nuns are bad, brothers are saying nuns are good, I'm saying they are very serious. I don't need to have that. They gave me a total surprise history. So that for me was the message. I think I shall stop here. There was 3 minutes up.
I think we now know how to analyze the dreams or get some sort of idea. Question and answer session. 15 minutes. Please, one person do not ask too many questions. Let everyone get a chance to ask questions.
You didn't answer the question about repetitive dreams. If you get the same dream, almost the same phraseology, what could it mean?
So if you have a recurring dream, it means there's some issue that you're struggling with that hasn't been resolved. And if you were to observe, like for instance, this girl kept on being chased by boys all the time, and she didn't want to go to sleep. She would be awake till 6 in the morning because she said it was so horrific. And what was happening in actuality was that she was being chased by boys. So after college, there'd be 4 boys, and first she would be walking, and then after that she would be hastening her steps, and then thirdly, they would be running after her. So she was so frightened to see because this was happening in her dream life as well. So she said, like dark circles in her eyes, and poor thing, she was like, what do we do? What do? I can't sleep. So I said, now the next time in the dream, you turn around. I said, what do you want? What do you want? She said, okay, I'll try, I don't know, because I have to go to sleep. Okay. She did actually go to sleep one day. And she did actually ask those boys, what do they want? And the boys said nothing. And they were very cowardly, and they turned and they went away. And so too did the actual thing happen in her life. She confronted her fear, and she did not get alarmed, and she walked steadfastly, and those boys stopped teasing her because they realized that there was an inner courage in this now. Today, she is running. It was very interesting because how did the dream turn out finally? She was the only woman to take part in this Himalayan marathon. And she's now running an institute which trains young people to run marathons. So the running had some good use. So the recurrent dream helped. But you have to take action. When you realize you can do something with it, you can take action, and the dream then becomes much larger than life.
So would it be true to say that our subconscious is creating our own dreams? And if that's the case, are we not fooling ourselves, because it's like painting a picture and believing in it, no?
The subconscious is like, I suppose, it takes something like a bit of dust or dirt, like an oyster, and makes a pearl out of it. Because irritating you, and it's irritating you, and there's something that's bothering you, and then it manages to understand what it is. You're saying it's fiction. It's absolutely fictional and making an illusion of itself. But there is something that needs to be addressed, which is niggling you, which is worrying you, and it could be triggered by the TV serial you saw the previous day. It could be triggered by something in your life that passed by in a flash. But then that is the nucleus for actually addressing an issue, which could turn out to be life transforming, or it could be just as banal as, oh well, I need to wear my raincoat tomorrow.
What about when I get up in the night and I have this dream and I think like I have to remember this meaning so I can tell my parents or whatever, but I don't. So how does your brain pick which dream that you're going to remember or that you're not going to remember? Because I remember when I wake up in the morning, I've had a dream, but I can't remember what happened in the morning.
So that's why we advocate, dream therapists advocate keeping a pencil and paper or your phone and recording it immediately, because as soon as you brush your teeth, you know the dream is going to fade. It's ephemeral. So that's what you do. And then what is most exciting, you tell your parents might use that as an agenda to hit you on the head with saying, now you must become a pharmacist. So you need to explore it at a much wider level. When Jung and there was this Marie-Louise von Franz, who was for 30 years his colleague, wonderful woman. And Jung would sit there and he would be wiping his brow with his handkerchief and saying, gosh, Marie got such difficult dreams, and supposing there wasn't a Jung here to help you analyze it, you know. And then he would say bitterly, but I have nobody to analyze my dreams. Then he would tell, So then he would tell it to a person who knew nothing about dreams. Because you'd say that was a way of for him to think about what it meant. So perhaps that's what you're doing with your dad now.
What is the effect of substance like psychotropic drug or a sleeping tablet or alcohol on a dream? Does it have an effect on the dream, or are those dreams valid, or what are the?
Just to carry on from that, what he said, what he said. I am taking some drugs which he knows. Before I used to have dreams, and I would very well recollect what those dreams were. But when I started taking these drugs, I don't remember what I dreamt.
Yeah.
So you can continue what he said. My doubt is this.
So you don't remember, or?
I don't remember now what I dreamt when I wake up in the morning.
Oh.
After taking these drugs.
Yeah, that's the problem with drugs. They're like an anesthetic in a sense, because then your consciousness, your whatever you have, it's kind of wiped out. It keeps. I don't know what it is. With alcohol, it could be a different way. One has to just experiment something.
It's the same. It's a drug.
No, but
one
can experiment, whether it's with alcohol, what kind of dreams you have, or whether it's with goat sausage, what kind of dreams you have, or whether it's with any other substance.
Cheese.
Cheese, chocolate, whatever. And you keep a record. Marie-Louise von Franz said she analyzed 65,000 dreams in her life. God. And we spend 6 years of our life dreaming. So you can imagine, and we ignore 6 years of that.
Everyone dreams?
Everyone.
I hardly dream.
Everyone.
Even I hardly dream.
I don't hardly ever
Don't
dream.
remember.
Very, very.
Can't remember maybe. If you can't remember,
No,
or
I don't dream.
or very often, some people have stopped dreaming because, sometimes it's different stages of your life. They say that whether you're living your life to the fullest, maybe you're not dreaming. Maybe if you are feeling in a state of depression, you may be not dreaming. You are so deeply depressed that you're dream constipated, as they say, so you're not dreaming. Or you are dreaming, but you're not paying heed to it and writing it down and you're forgetting it. So it could be n number of things.
From what you said earlier, are all the events or persons that are in the dream really a reflection of what you are yourself?
Yes.
Yeah, I have a follow-up question to that since you mentioned. I think interpretation is the crux of this talk. So you mentioned about the nuns. Now it could be simply, if I have to interpret it very simply, subjective obviously, you mentioned about the whole thing behind it. It could be that your brother-in-law said that there's something negative. So maybe it was just a perception of what he said, a very simple, non-complicated way that, okay, where will you find nuns in a school? So you pictured yourself going to a school as a chief guest. You've seen the nuns and the dancing and all, showed that they are very, obviously, human beings at the end of the day, and that negative taste to it which your brother-in-law mentioned. So don't you feel interpretation of a dream is
Can be
subjective, yes, but can be used to, not necessarily true, but used to better yourself or get a better conscience. It need not necessarily be related. That's what I'm saying.
Dreams are for transformation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
You're
the
saying-
dream, man, is not, I mean, you use the dream for a better purpose. The dream is not there to help you, right?
The way you interpret the dream can be very different. You can take a very negative look on it and say, okay, my brother-in-law was right, the nuns are crazy.
Yeah,
But
a
even
simple way,
if-
yeah.
Yeah.
But you chose to think a whole different thing
Yeah.
about yourself also and how the thing is over. Yeah.
So therefore, it's a personal message. There's the personal unconscious and there's the collective unconscious. So it could be, I could use this as my own personal point of departure. So, okay, this is what from H, NO, I got H2O, I got water. Okay, and it's a totally different thing from hydrogen and oxygen. So, but I got another interpretation. And therefore it's very important that you have personal associations with the characters in the dream. What are their qualities? What do they represent for you? What does it mean? Whether it's color, it's texture, it's a person, it's a friend, it's whatever it is. So yes, there is a person, a point of departure which is different from my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law.
So Shamin, I think maybe maybe I'm interpreting the question differently, but there could be a science of dreams, the way of explaining them in terms of how they experience, and then there is the choice to make of interpreting them. It could maybe be about
Yes.
anything. It could be about films you need to see, or you could be someone who gets out of the house and makes patterns and associations with things. Because you are already presenting it as something positive and something which has to affirm yourself, you could be doing that with anything. So there is a little confusion whether it's a dream,
Yes.
which is the source of the analysis, or it could be anything else.
Yeah, correct. I agree with that.
No,
You
but
can take
the way I
any
would look at it
and
is,
yeah.
in most dreams, I would say, that as you call it, the collective conscious of the 2,000-year-old man, that is there at the core of the dream, and therefore every dream is good. It has got something good in it, like maybe something, a pearl or something like that.
You may be an optimist, there may be other people who don't
No,
don't
but
look
you
at
can
that.
find something from that because that goodness is there in every man. It's a collective conscious of the so many years that is there in a person, and therefore if you interpret a dream, you can identify the characters and you can come out with something good from that. It need not be that the dream is bad or dream is maybe a nightmare, but there is something, there is a collective conscious that is there in every man.
Yeah, but
Nightmares also
as you were
dreams,
saying,
no?
you can
Nightmares
get
are
from
dreams.
watching a serial also some. You see certain things in a serial and you can pick up some goodness in that only.
Yeah, so it's like a dream only.
It's it's not very often people are very afraid to even unravel a dream. They're afraid because they feel, oh my God, this is terrible. It could be that, for instance, a friend of mine, she had a particular dream, and then this was very long ago. Adivasis traveling on a bus with missiles, Adivasi women, with traveling with these huge missiles on top of a bus. And we, as a group, when we sit in a group, we each give our analysis and interpretation, and then the person respectfully will choose what she feels fits with that. Well, however, that made her go on to leaving home, going abroad, doing her graduation in process work. She's the only one who graduated 5 years. She did all that with great difficulty, didn't have finance, cooked, cleaned, did everything, but got her finances to do this particular degree. But very often the following of the dream can be very difficult. It need not necessarily be optimistic. It can be really, how should I say, girding your loins and doing what needs to be done, and it's a very difficult process. How many of us follow our dreams? How many of us follow the message or even know the language? And we do not dream, or we do not decode, or we say it's true. I mean, Our Lady, you're going to be the mother of the Messiah, are you agreeable? If she said no, then what? Here she was, unmarried.
So
What happened?
Not a dream, no? The angel actually appeared to her.
Yeah, but that's also a possibility that it could be a dream, that the angel may have actually appeared to her. It could also be so realistic. And what about Joseph? Joseph was told in a dream to cast, if he was ready to cast off his wife, but he didn't. In a dream, he said, no, accept her. Now, how difficult is that in a society which is so rigid, which considers women the lowest of the low, saying yes to the birth of Christ? And that's why we're all sitting here, Christians and non-Christians, of course. Saying, and it's a difficult choice to make, no? How many of us are ready to do that?
One question. Do hallucination have relation with dreams? Hallucinations are something that also come from each human being, doing things from inside. No? But maybe in certain moment, the things that are trying to tell the dreams became so powerful or so, no, that became like hallucinations for certain kind of people. There is a relation between these two things.
Yes.
Because hallucinations, like I understand, are also very common in people.
Yes, yes. Saint Joan of Arc. She heard voices. And she followed through.
And some years ago, I have a friend that used to hear a lot of voices. And when she went to the psychiatrist, and they give some medicines, and that medicines used to come from Holland. You know? And I was researching on the net, and I find out that in Holland they have a movement for people that hear voices. And they also have like a radio station for people that hear voices. No, I don't know what is happening in that country that became, and there is an international movement for people that hear voices. No? And then it seems that these kind of things are more common than we think. No, maybe it's something that's pop out. I don't know how to say it. Comes out.
Yes.
So then,
yes, yes.
and it's quite interesting. Maybe dreams and hallucinations are very.
Are linked. I mean, they are along that same kind of gamut of hearing voices or seeing visions, or you can be oral, you can be ORAL, you can be AURAL. So there are a whole lot of on that. And Anand Mindell talks about 24-hour dreaming. So something may catch your attention, something may attract you. He calls it a flirt. Something, it can be something very little also. Maybe a flash of orange, it can be a bird. And you may want to follow it. You may want to follow it. So you don't have to necessarily wait for your dream to come in the night. you are intrigued, you are interested, you can follow that, and it may lead you somewhere totally different. You know, suddenly, and if you do that, that is what makes life interesting and enchanting.
Is that related to Cecil's question of daydreaming?
Cecil's question of daydreaming, yeah, that it can be 24-hour period. It doesn't have to be just, as I said, 9 to 5, 9 to 11. It could be anything.
I have this question about this thing, the theory of collective unconscious.
There's black tea also.
Well, what does the theory actually say? I mean, it says that you have things over generations and generations of knowledge and culture are passed down to you. I mean, does it have like a scientific basis?
Jung went into depth. So he analyzed for 5 years. He was so upset with Freud, the separation between him and Freud, that he went into it deeper and deeper, and he looked at the archetypes, the original imprints, say Mother Goddess or the hero, you know, all sorts of things which are universal through all generations and all cultures, which we share, whether it's Africa, it's Asia.
So basically, it's like evolution.
It's like almost like it's programmed in our DNA.
Yeah.
To the origin of mankind. So that is what we inherit. So as I said, even if you have a nuclear holocaust and there are only 2 or 3 people alive, they can replicate all that because it comes from this great drawer of that you can, a filing cabinet that you can take out and get that knowledge from within you.
In response to your question, you said you don't dream. I'm married to the dream analyst. And I mean, she would go on with this, and I said, I don't dream. And she said, but you have rapid eye movement. You know, when I'm sleeping, my eyes are going like a dog. You know? And I didn't believe that I dream. And just like you, I would resist the idea of unfulfilled whatever. And then from that night on, and maybe auto-suggestion or whatever, but from that night on, I began dreaming. And fantastic.
The sugar will get less.
Very nice.
Anyone wants more? There's sugar available here. You want more? Sorry.
Acha, but that does not advocate that you sleep with a dream analyst.
But her question was that she doesn't remember her dream when she gets up. So there's no question of noting it down.
Yeah, exactly.
But if she
in the middle of the night, right, and I remember that I've had this dream, and I say like, I don't remember it, so I can talk about it or think about it later. And I go back to sleep, and then I don't remember it.
So that's what I'm saying.
Wait, what?
Jot it down. Immediately when you have that. Keep a notepad and
What
pen.
I'm asking is, how does the brain select which dreams you're going to remember in the morning and which dreams you're not?
I think it would be, I think, depends on how much you want to hide from yourself.
But it can't be consciously controlled.
Yeah, it depends on how much you want to hide from yourself. Supposing you say, oh my god, that's such a bloody significant dream, but I don't want to know it. Forget it. Out, under the mat. Don't remember it. Probably it's a dream which is easy to share with the rest of the group. It's a nice, lovely little dream that I can share. Safe. I'll share it. Maybe that's how it works. How prepared is your psyche to select that I want to act on it, which is significant, or maybe it's not so significant and I will feel safe telling the world.
But is it so rational? Do we have control over it?
No, this is the unconscious part which is coming in, which you know, your psyche takes as much as it can handle.
Anyone wants more sugar or anything? Perfect.
The best dream I have was when I was working at a job which I didn't like, and I couldn't bring myself to quit it. So one night I dreamt that the boss's wife was firing me, and in my dream I'm talking to myself. I mean, if he fires me, it's one thing. What right does his wife have to fire me? And the next day I went and quit the job. So you know, I couldn't bring myself to do it. So
yes.
I think sometimes it's just a conversation, you know.
Yes.
I don't think so. You choose. I feel that you remember more the things that have more impact or more significance in that moment. No? because suddenly it's like I have a very long dream, but there are scenes of that dream that really make me to feel very bad or very good, and are the scenes that I really remember the next day. The other things maybe are not so
Or it could be
important.
like a defense mechanism where it's something that's going to upset you, so you just
Yes, that's another one. Depression.
So how do you all analyze dreams? Into what categories? Good dreams, bad dreams, or what is the categories of?
Yeah, there can be anything from healing dreams to precognitive dreams to large, sublime, luminous dreams, which are life transforming, society transforming.